having to even put that mourning on pause because here you are, you have this infant and you're thrown into motherhood.
Yeah.
And there is no restart.
Ooh, yeah, I am a mom of 3. My goodness. Sometimes like I wake up and I think, whoa, I'm really responsible for 3 human beings. So
how
you
did
have to
I get
remind
here?
me, how did I get here? Oh my goodness.
We just shift the perspective.
Yeah.
Because if we start celebrating us as we come, as we are,
Welcome to Mama and Her, the podcast.
a space for mature mothers and women navigating the exciting journey of motherhood after 35.
I'm Kayla,
And I'm Shannon.
your new mom friends, inviting you into conversation to help you thrive in your mom era.
We celebrate all the incredible layers that make you you. Before mom, there was and still is so much more to you.
We're here to remind our community that you are still that girl. Welcome back, everyone, to another edition of Mama and Her, the podcast where motherhood, faith, and community meet.
We are so grateful you're here and you chose us today to listen to, whether you're sipping your tea, just taking time for yourself, in the car, on a walk. You are here with us and you chose to take time for yourself. I'm Shannon.
And I'm Kayla. You thought I was going to say
Yeah.
No. All right. Well, you know what? Today is a very special day. Do you know why, Shannon?
I do.
But we're going to let the viewers in on it.
Let them see.
Today is our very first guest episode. Now, here at Mama and Her, you know, one thing that we want to really do, and one of the reasons why we have this show is to, you know, journey through motherhood with all of you. But what we also want to do is include fellow mamas, moms that are out here doing their thing in their respective lane, and that also join us with a wealth of knowledge. So with that being said, it is my honor to introduce our very first guest to Mama and Her, Miss Jessica Muamba. Hold on. I gotta hit her with her intro now. Jessica Muamba is a mother of 3. She is a wife. She is a daughter. She is a stenographer by day. Did I get that right?
Stenographer by day. Yes, that was perfect.
As well as a hilarious content creator by night, also known to many as Mama Africa. Now, Jess has also become a charismatic public speaker discussing topics like her medical background, finding purpose, as well as inspiring young people to go for their multifaceted dreams. And on top of all of that, she is my dear sister in Christ and someone who is a prayer warrior who is on my speed dial. So once again, let's give it up and welcome to the pod, Jessica, Mama Africa.
When you were giving the intro, I was like, who? Oh, me? Yeah, I am a mom of 3. My goodness. Sometimes like I wake up and I think, whoa, I'm really responsible for 3 human beings. So
How
you
did
have
I
to
get
remind me,
here?
how did I get here? Oh my goodness. Yeah.
So, you know what, Jess, one thing we do here to kick off the show each time is we always do our check-in just to tap in, see how you're doing, a good, bad, and the ugly. So we'll kick things off with you. Like, how are you feeling?
Honestly, I love what you're doing. I love the vision. I love the purpose behind it and the heart behind it.
Thank you.
And I'm so happy to be here. It's truly an honor. So yeah, well, good, bad, and ugly. Okay, good. Traffic here was amazing.
Love that.
That was awesome. Yes, it was so good. I was very surprised because, you know, usually after I pray, it's GTA driving that brings out the need to pray for repentance.
Right. We're like still working on that road rage.
Still working on me. I'm much better now. But God's still working on me. The bad, it was a chaotic morning. I know you two know about the morning rush.
Listen.
And today, for whatever reason, it's because the kids had a late night yesterday, I just knew this morning was going to be off. And it just took like 2 hours to get out of the house and everybody was late. Everybody was late for school, daycare, everything. I forgot gymnastic leotards. I forgot everything.
It happens.
It was just one of those mornings, but it's always good to just like breathe and just remember like that it's not as bad as it feels in the time.
Exactly.
And it's actually quite inconsequential as your day goes by, but
Because now you're here.
yes, now we're
You know,
here.
now we're just talking
Enjoying.
about it.
Yeah.
But we'll validate that in the midst of it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Like you're up here. Like there's times where after I get through a rough morning and she is in the care of someone else, and like you get back in your car after drop off, and you're just like, what just happened?
I know.
Yes. Yeah.
Like you have to bring yourself down.
When, and they're fine.
They're fine.
Yeah, they're fine. They had a
moved on.
lovely morning.
Yeah, they moved on.
They're going to play and do arts and crafts and act like nothing ever happened.
Eat their snacks.
Your blood pressure's still up.
Skyrocketed and like, and you have to truly, you're right, bring yourself down. And sometimes you need like a cry, and you realize at the time that you couldn't hear your thoughts.
No.
Yeah, you finally just get to hear your thoughts, like yourself think. It's such a beautiful moment. And like I've seen Kayla and Shannon talk about this before. I never feel guilty about having caregivers in my village that help me during these moments. Like,
Absolutely.
yeah, no.
But you said it too. Sometimes you just need a cry, talking about like, and you know, maybe for someone who hasn't experienced it yet, it's like, what do you mean? Like, why would no? But I'm a strong supporter of like better out than in.
Yes.
So if you need to cry, girl, let it out. Even if
it
it might feel like this is silly. Why am I crying? Over what a 2-year-old did or didn't do, or whatever the case is. No.
Yeah.
Like, let it out.
Yep.
Because then it's a release.
Yep.
It's a release.
Yep.
So.
And yeah, I completely agree with that. So that was like my bad of the morning, although in that I was still good. My beautiful children. And then the ugly, a family member was recently diagnosed with cancer after his biopsy. So that has been a bit rough this week, but I am hopeful. This type of cancer has a usually good prognosis. In the medical community, when there's certain cancers, maybe like thyroid or the prostate, we say, nobody wants to hear about cancer or hear them in the diagnosis, but of the cancers, it's the better one to
better
get.
one to have.
Yes. Yeah. And I
gonna hear
hate
the
saying
C
that,
word,
but
but
yeah, exactly. So in the ugly, the good in that is that it's one of the better ones to be diagnosed with.
No, for sure.
so
And that's still a way of finding the silver lining.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
In the midst of not great news.
Exactly. Which I try. It's in the good, bad, and ugly. I try to see the good in even the bad and ugly.
Yeah, the silver lining.
That's what makes you, Jess.
Yeah.
Something we do every episode is we also want to recognize a God wink that happened, in our lives, our days. And, for anyone tuning in for the first time, they're like, what's a God wink? And so, I think maybe society calls a God wink like coincidence, but Shannon and I, we really believe that God winks are just moments in your day or in your life where you without a shadow of a doubt know that it was God kind of just reiterating and just touching, your moment and saying like, I got you, or I see you. And without a shadow of a doubt, like, okay, I get it, God.
Right.
So with that being said, does something like that come to mind? Do you have a God wink to share with us?
Yes. You know what? The first week of school, I was not in full mom mode yet. Like back to school from winter break, I was just flustered and I was absent-minded and I was driving and I kind of rear-ended a pickup truck with my daughter in the car.
What do you mean kinda?
What I mean kinda, like there was no damage to the pickup truck, but there was damage to my vehicle.
Oh, okay.
So that kind of this sucks for me. But I was already late for dropping my daughter to school and I was going to be late for work. I'm like, oh my goodness, now I'm going to have to pull over to the side. Yeah. And then I drove beside the person and I was like, hey, do you want to pull over? And she was listening to music, oh no, that's fine. Don't worry about it, and just wave me over.
And she didn't even know if there was any damage.
Yes.
Wow.
She probably thought that your impact was the vibrations from her music.
Oh my gosh. And I was like, yeah, maybe. Because I was like, hey, and she was just like, hey.
And you were just freaking out, getting your insurance ready.
All my cards.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I even kind of drove slowly in front of her because I'm like, here, in case she wants to take my license plate, let me see what happens. Because I felt so bad, and I really believe in trying to be live in integrity. Because if it were you would want somebody to.
Yeah,
exactly. So, but yeah, no, I heard I've received no calls back, nothing, and it's only my vehicle, which is it's one of those I've had since my early 20s, and it's time to let go, but there's no car payment on it. So
yeah, I hear you.
one of those
No
you gotta let it go. vehicle, but we have a
love
family
that.
vehicle. So why can't this just be my little, Thomas the choo-choo train that could,
Yeah.
Wow.
So basically, you weren't tripping off that little dent.
Oh,
Just
no,
like,
yeah,
listen, I'm just glad
I took that as a God wink. I'm glad, like, they weren't upset. I'm glad we're okay. That's
you're
a
not
God wink
upset.
to
I'm
me.
not upset.
Leah made it to school. I made it to work. It was a good. It was a
beautiful.
flustered morning, but it was a good morning. It could have been so much worse, right? Like
yeah.
it's like what if? So that was like my God wink moment of the new year
For sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Shan, what about you?
I truly believe that when the opportunity arises, that we should just share openly about our faith. And I was at the gym and I work out in the same class, and there was a guy there, and we never really talked. Seems slightly unapproachable, but like I just like talking to people. So if you're gonna be beside me working out, sweating, we're like both wanting to just throw up, like let's have a conversation between sets. But yeah, he'd always have his headphones in and whatnot, and I see him over and over. So I smile because that's who I am. And then we were stretching after class, and we just started talking. Hey, like I tore my Achilles because he's wondering why I was slacking off on something, and I like pulled the Achilles tear card. Faith came up.
Wow.
And relationship with God. I don't know how it came up, but it came up organically. And he shared with me that he recently just started to read the Bible. He's just noticed a huge change in his life. And then I said, well, like I'm a believer and I grew up unashamed and like I live for God. And he was just like, I knew there was something about you that was different. And he's just like, it's so odd that we started talking now at this point in my life where I'm starting to seek God. And I just like he was blown away because we just kept talking and sharing. So it really encouraged him, and he asked me to send him scripture if I could. He asked me if any songs that I hear that. So I just like he's a grown man. I'm a grown woman. Like we're just two people adulting. I just thought it was just such a vulnerable conversation with a stranger because we don't know each other, right?
Yeah.
But he opened up, and I felt good, and I felt like it was a God wink moment that I'm in this world for a purpose, and like my people kind of open up to me for certain reasons, and I need to just be open to share my faith journey and my story with people. So that's my God wink.
Actually, my pastor was talking about something similar to that point, like this past Sunday, where oftentimes opportunities like that are made available to us, but it's up to us to actually step in. So in that moment, you leaned into your God wink moment, right? And which is great, which by the way, that wraps up the end of our first quarter, Jess. That's our little indicator that first quarter has come to an end. But I'll just end with this. Sometimes people don't lean in.
Right.
So they would have just heard that, and maybe they would have felt the tugging or the nudge from the Holy Spirit to say something, but they allow shyness or just self-doubt or whatever to they overthink the moment, and then they're just like, and they let it go, and it's a missed opportunity. So anyway, all to say, that's great that you leaned in and that you didn't allow fear or feeling silly or whatever the case is to stop you from just talking to God and simply just planting a seed. So no, I love that. All right, we are gonna wrap things up. I'll save my God wink for next episode. That's okay. But we are going to wrap things up for this quarter. We're gonna take a quick break, but stay with us. You're watching Mama and Her. All right, second quarter. Welcome back to Mama and Her. So we're going to just dive right in with you, Mama. So I call you Mama Jess.
Yes.
As a, term of endearment. I know everyone knows you as Mama Africa, but you're Mama Jess to me.
Yes.
And I feel like it's only right that before we, dive in, that we share our connection, how Jessica and Kayla, how we met, because actually, our friend-iversary is approaching.
I know.
And so Jess and
6 years.
Wow. Yeah. Do the math, right? Yeah. 6 years ago, we actually met while we were double dating.
Yes.
We did a double date on Valentine's Day when I was married and with your husband, Enoch. Yeah. So just jump right in and talk to us about, who is Jess? Who is Jessica?
Oh my goodness. So multifaceted, so multidimensional. I'm trying, it's funny because I'm in a season where I'm literally like, God, I'm going to apply to all these things and apply myself in all these things. And whatever is not your will, like I know that door will be closed, and I won't take it personally and I won't take it to heart, but I'll know that it's your simple redirection. But yes, growing up in like, you know, an African home in Canada, I grew up at church every Sunday, Bible studies on Wednesdays. So first and foremost, faith was an integral part of who I was.
A pillar.
Yeah, so huge all the time. And it's a reflection of me as an adult now. And so I grew up, and my parents had a very successful business. They owned a black hair salon and hair store, and they were doing really well until it crashed, and their marriage crashed. So I also saw like the demise of a marriage, and I saw the things that kind of can break a marriage as well. And so from a very young age, I had an understanding of, okay, these are the things that could work. These are the things that may not work. These are the things that I should be like conscious of. And in that period, I grew very close to my mom, like so close. I was helping her pay bills and everything after her divorce. So her and I were really like a team. And so even when, you know, I have a huge story of how my husband and I met, but we were kind of like in an African Romeo and Juliet situation. That's for a whole other episode, okay, a whole other topic. But yeah, my mom was my pillar throughout, and she always just said like, just as soon as you get your first degree, you can have husband and everything. Like she just wanted me to get my degree, so I got my degree in kinesiology.
Okay.
I got a post-grad in ultrasound, and then I met Enoch, and we were dating, and you know, we got married 5 years after we started dating. And it was then that I noticed like a slowdown in my mom a lot. She had type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, but she was very like, oh, you know, like these like
It's minor.
Yes, exactly.
They don't know what they're
just
talking
a little
about.
bit of sugar. It's not bad. Like, you know, I noticed a slowdown in her, but I was still very like grateful to have her around. She lived in my basement of our marital home, myself and my husband, and she was helping us take care of our firstborn. Fast forward to 2020, the COVID pandemic, and my mom gets COVID. Like I remember, like when we went through SARS, and we're just like, oh, these are just far removed numbers. Like you know, it wouldn't touch us. Like I couldn't believe my mom got COVID, and it was terminal, terrible COVID because of her diabetes and everything. And unfortunately it took her life, and that was absolutely like the complete shaking and turning upside down of my world as I knew. I had never, like, I know, Kayla, you went to school outside of Canada. Shannon, I don't know if you went to school.
No, I was here, but I moved out.
But you moved out. Okay. I had never been without my mom in 30 years. Wow. Yeah, I went to high school, everything in Toronto. And then even when I got married, I moved my mom into the basement.
With you.
So I didn't know how to function in a world in the absence of my mom. And I would say in a lot of ways I was lost, and I had so many questions to God because, you know, my mom, who had instilled this foundation of faith in me, one of the things that I thought, or I assumed faith operated, the ways it operated was that, you know, if you faith hard enough, you sort of get what you want.
Ask for,
And so...
Or it protects you from feeling the sting of life.
Yes. Yeah. So it was a very untethering feeling to have faithed so hard and to have the result that I was very undesirable.
Like based off your faith and how you associated it with essentially good things, your mom should have lived to 90,
1,000. That was in my prayer. In my prayer with my mom, almost weekly, I say, yeah, may you live to see your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren. And I wholeheartedly believe that. So for her to pass away at 66, I was like, I don't even know what to pray anymore. Yeah, because that was an integral part of my prayer.
Yeah.
And so from that, I went through like a really, you know, I would say I was in a depressive state. But one of the things that was a God wink in my situation was that at her deathbed in the ICU, I was the only one by her side. And it was COVID. My brother was away for school. And my sister, even if she wanted to come, they only allowed one person. And in those times, it was so early COVID, they didn't know what to do.
Right.
I found out maybe a week before that I was pregnant with my second Ada. And so as mom's life was leaving this world, Ada's life was entering.
Just starting.
And Ada and being pregnant with her gave me the hope and the strength that I needed in that time to even just take care of myself in the grief and depression, because for sure I was depressed. I was like binge watching Grey's Anatomy on a couch for like days. And I just wanted to relate to people who could relate to my pain. I think even in that season, I grew closer to Kayla because I'm like, I need to be around somebody who has experienced this loss and is okay. Like, tell me and show me that it will be okay. And Shannon, I didn't know it at the time, but that you had also lost your mother. So in a lot of ways, you guys didn't know it, but you gave me hope that even despite this groundbreaking, ground-shaking loss, that I would be okay. And I really sought out for women and daughters who had lost their moms in that time, because my brain needed to be reaffirmed that I would be okay and I would make it. And it was possible to navigate life in her absence.
It's, I thought of the title for today's show was Mothering While Mourning. And I feel like that's something that especially all three of us know the pain and just the existence of living life without that anchor that is mom. Yeah. Right? And all of us losing our moms at different stages, but nonetheless, no longer having her with us anymore. I think just too now, as you share that, being a mom yourself now. And I know for me, this year, my daughter turns 3.
Yeah, in a few days.
And to know that was the age that I was when my mom died.
Wow.
And so I think this year is actually very full circle, because I think to myself, God forbid, if I were to leave her right now at this stage, I'm just like, no.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
How did your mothering change at the time? You were a mom of 1 with 1 on the way, and now you're a mom of 3.
Yeah.
But I know too that your mom had such a huge role in how you were able to lean on her for help while you mommed, right? Especially with number 1.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden she's gone, but you have 1 on the way, and then you go on to have a third too.
Yeah.
How was that dynamic? How did you adjust?
Oh my God, it was a huge adjustment. So even Ada's birth, not having my mom physically there to pray with me in the delivery room, which I had for my first, was, it was devastating to me. So what I did is I actually brought a picture of her to my
in your delivery room.
And thank you. And I hung it beside my my stretcher, and even when Ada came, her delivery was complicated, and when she came out, she wasn't crying. Ada was a big baby, and she was in the birth canal for a long time as they tried to get her out, and she wasn't crying. And I remember looking to my mom's picture and saying, like, Mom, please, like, if you're here right now, like, please, like, intercede on my behalf. Like, I could barely handle your loss, but I won't be able to handle it. And then Ada started crying. And it was just a reminder that even though my mom wasn't physically there, that she was still watching over, that she still cared, that she was still protecting, that and that now in a lot of ways that she could be there for me in a manner that she couldn't before when she was in the physical, because now her spirit lived on. And our promise as Christians is that death is not the end.
Right.
And so I knew that her presence would continue to live on, and as for how it changed the way that I mothered, my mom was an extremely strong woman, and when she put her mind to something, she could do it. I put it in my mind that no matter how hard this is, I would be as intentional and as present with my children as God would allow. And it changed so much. It changed the dynamic of even my marriage, because having an anchor like that in your life for a child, in a lot of ways, you're not even a real parent. Like, and I don't say that to diminish people who have that help. If you have that help, utilize it. It's a blessing.
It's a blessing.
I pray to be there for my daughters in the way that I missed
She was
my
for
mom.
you.
Yes, and that she was for the first 2 years of Mia's life. Absolutely, that's my prayer. But it is a different dynamic completely, and so in a lot of ways, Enoch and I were becoming first-time parents. It
felt like you took the training wheels off.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
With Ada.
Yes, yeah. When I didn't feel I was ready for it, so I was just stumbling and stammering and trying to figure this out now in her absence, and
You had to learn how to cope with having had her and then not having her.
Yes.
Shan, you didn't have the opportunity. You know, like, it's like, that's what I mean. Like, there's different stages.
Yes.
And so I know, and like, that's even a hard form too of mourning.
Yep.
And then having to even put that mourning on pause, because here you are, you have this infant and you're thrown into motherhood.
Yeah.
And there is no restart. There is no, okay, let's try this again.
Yeah.
And you just have all your attention now is on in focus.
Yeah.
And then whereas me didn't have a mom, but now I'm looking at and it's like, there's moments where I'm like, I just want to ask, like, what do I do right now? How do I do this? Am I some reassurance of that you're doing okay?
Yeah.
And, and I'm sure we can all speak to how incredibly vulnerable we are as women in those first few days, weeks, months of postpartum, when everything has changed and has shifted and doesn't feel the same, and you don't even, sometimes your thoughts aren't even the same, your hormones are all over the place.
And I feel like only a mother would understand.
Like your mom.
Yep.
The one that you were in the womb of.
Yeah.
1000%. I remember, like, in the African culture, or with the Ghanaians at least, the first 3 months of a woman's postpartum phase, she actually goes to her mother's house back home. And the mom sort of, gets her ready for the world. Yes, I remember, like, my mom massaging my stomach and taking my colicky daughter during the night. And she, at the time, she was even working a factory job. She would come home from the factory job and take a night shift with Thea, who wasn't going to sleep that night.
Right. And she knew that.
Oh my gosh. And like she'd be squandering, her pants would be falling, trying to cook, help me, just because she wanted to be there for me. And I knew that, that God would send people, but I knew that it would never ever be like that. But what I've been grateful for, although one person couldn't replace her, there's been different people to help bring aspects of her with like in the children's lives, and like that I am so grateful for. I'm so grateful for. But I think that it makes me extremely, like we were saying before, intentional about the time that I spend with my girls, because if anybody had told me 6 years ago, like when on our double date on Valentine's Day, that I would lose my mom like prematurely in the middle of me having all my children, I would have never ever thought. I don't even think I would have been able to fathom, but thank God for grace and his strength that truly carried me when I couldn't walk, because that's all it was. It was God carrying me, and all the questions and all the but whys and all the frustrations. And I was going through Mother's Day, other people's Mother's Days post last year, and it was the first year it didn't hurt like before. Because when I used to see those, I wouldn't even be able to stay on social media. It made me feel so jilted and like, well, how come other people can have their mom?
Why do they get to experience it and not me?
And not me. Like, what, did I do something wrong?
Yeah.
You know, and I know we totally believe in the sovereignty of God's plan, but I couldn't understand why that sovereignty incorporated such pain for me. And so, in this journey and in this grief cycle, I think that the points where you get to where you can see a Mother's Day post and not cry is also points of relief. But then there's also this little bit of guilt to should I be moving on? Should this still hurt? I remember feeling like that too, especially because I had a newborn when she passed. I had a fresh baby. So I was like, should I be more focused on still the loss? And there's almost like this guilt of trying to move on, even though you know they would have wanted you to. And so trying to move on, but still keeping their memory alive. And that was even a struggle for me. Like, Jessica, how come it doesn't hurt as much as before? How come you don't cry every time you bring her up anymore? Is that normal? Like, are you still honoring her legacy? Do you still love her? So that has been difficult for me to navigate as well.
I've found that since becoming a mom, that my mourning has been less when it comes to my mom. What I mean by that is, to your point, like when you would think of her, or like if I would, note something like on her death anniversary or on Mother's Day, the last 2 years, the sting hasn't been there.
That's great.
But I think it's because Kennedy has been healing a part of me that mourns and aches for my mom still to this day.
Yeah.
And she died when I was 3.
Wow.
So here we are 33 years later.
Yeah.
It would still hurt. But just these last 2 years now as a mom, has it been better?
Yes.
It's never going to just be okay. And
Yeah.
and so I, to your point, I don't think that, I'm not crying as much, or I'm not sad as much. I'm like, does it mean like, what does that mean when your healing actually is happening? Like, is that disrespectful to the person?
To
and I don't
legacy,
think I don't think it is. And you spoke on legacy, and talk about honoring someone's legacy. You've done just that, because I had the honor and the privilege. I met Mama Africa just a few times, and like that was so early in our friendship. And little did I know it was only going to be a handful of times, right? But you've done so. You've taken. You talked about the grief cycle. You've taken the part where you've gone out of deep mourning, and now you're almost using your mourning for purpose. And that's how Mama Africa was birthed. And so all these tears and all of this sadness we're talking about, but you've now taken the form of laughter and have used it as medicine and healing. So tell us about that, because it's amazing to see that through all that laughter, it was birthed out of such pain.
Yes. Oh my goodness. So much pain. So much pain. So for the first few, I would say the first 2 years, I couldn't talk about it without crying. So I knew that Mama Africa, although my husband would keep prompting me, like, just, you got to share this, because I would say the reminders. Oh,
all
yeah.
Right, we're going to hold on.
Yeah.
It's going to be a quick break.
Yes.
If you are locked in, we are going to take a quick break, but we are going to be back with the second half of Mama and Her with Mama Africa, Jessica Muamba, and we're going to just kick off right where we left off. So stay with us. All right, welcome back to the second half of Mama and Her. We are talking mothering while mourning. We have our first guest, Jessica Muamba, who's been here. And Jess, let's just jump right back in, because you were talking to us about the birth of Mama Africa. And it's, what's really interesting is because there's so many people, I feel like last year you was your blow up year.
Yeah, that was last year. Was like,
everyone was like, yo, this girl's funny. Mama Africa is funny because it's genuinely funny. It's so relatable.
Yeah.
African or not, I think it's for across the diaspora,
Yeah.
across immigrant culture.
Yes.
It's so relatable. So
Yeah.
again, share with us, how laughter became intentional healing for you.
So one of the things that people didn't know about my mom was that she was hilarious. Yeah, she was so funny and so witty and so quick on her feet, and she always had these like funny sayings that would stick with me. So, when I was feeling really deep in grief, I would say like to Enoch, to my husband, and he would be like, "Man, you gotta start posting about that. It's so funny." She should have had like a reality TV show. Yeah,
She could have been viral. She would have been viral.
She would have definitely went viral. Yeah, especially in TikTok and how unhinged it is. Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, totally. And I was like, no, I don't want to share that part of like me, but also her yet. And it was really last year that I dove really into it with these skits. And what I love about the skits is that there is a lot of disconnection sometimes between like first generation and second parents and second generation kids. And so I would kind of give the perspective of this is what our parents are hearing, and this is why like we're always told no, or everything is so extreme, because what we're saying to them, they're not actually hearing that.
Right.
They're hearing things that reflect their culture, where they grew up, how they grew up, and they're not hearing like modern, Western, like progressive thought at all. And so that really hit so many groups, as Kayla was saying, like in the diaspora and everything. And I remember like I would get comments like, I didn't know like my white Greek mother was an African mother.
Exactly. Like the amount of skits that you've put out, where I remember I was like, I wish Mama Africa and Lolo Ben met.
Yeah, they would
They're
have been like,
so relatable.
they would have been like, yeah, they would have agreed with everything that they did. Like, absolutely no sleepovers. And,
But it also just shows how similar we all are, really and
Yes.
truly,
And Mama Africa does that. She brings out the commonalities in so many different people and backgrounds and everything. Hence, and that's why, people gravitated to this character that you've created. And it's all a form. It's a love dedication to your mom.
Totally. And what
People are coming here for the laughs, but it's really like, I'm glad you're laughing, because it's like, this is a way that I get to remember and honor my mother.
Yes.
But before you say something, I remember this quote, and it stuck with me when I lost my mom, is that they say like grief is love grief is love
with no place to go.
With nowhere to go.
Yep.
With no place to go.
Yeah.
So I feel like for you, this is where you've put that love.
Yes, this is
and
where
so
I
your grief
relocated.
is changing.
Yes.
And I've done the same with certain things. So I think it's so beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's pretty much what you're doing.
Yeah.
This is your love for your mom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was able to transfer that all that energy and emotion into like these comedic skits that truly reflect a lot of her beliefs and her thought patterns, but in the comical way that she embodied herself to be. And I really love that the world gets to see this as I literally grew up seeing. This is what I saw. I know, like everybody's like laughing. I'm like, well, no, this is
Like,
actually
trust
my
me, this
childhood.
is what, It's like, haha, no, I'm being for real.
Real life experience.
Yeah. Like, oh my gosh, she's so crazy. I'm like, yeah, she was.
She was. Oh my gosh. Well, I feel like this is a perfect lead into our next question, because these skits are, of course, not only are they funny, but I'm sure in a way, especially in the beginning, that it filled your cup.
Oh, yes.
It's how you process. So, maybe in the beginning it was vegging out and watching 2 days worth of Grey's Anatomy. Now it was like, okay, I got to get up.
Yes.
I got to wash my face.
Yeah.
I got to wipe these tears.
Yes.
But I could also remember how funny she was.
Yes. And really, what's beautiful is I did like this pageant when I was like 20 years old, and I my talent was Mama Africa skit, Mama Africa, like a spoken word. And so she got to see Mama Africa and she loved it. And she loved the idea of it. And she loved that it represented so much of her and like her WhatsApp friends. And so, yes, it truly does fill my cup and it's therapeutic. And I think the God wink within this is even people reaching out to me who have lost their moms, who, you know, I'm on a few platforms, TikTok, Instagram, dabbling into YouTube, but in all of the platforms, I get the same, like, you know what, I lost my mom and your skits and knowing your history allowed me to laugh again because you're laughing. And that has been such an impactful part of this journey and a part that I never wish to forego. So as I keep her legacy alive, I allow others to see the joy or the comedy or the laughter in their grief.
Yeah.
And that is powerful. Oh, it's like laughter is literally medicine and food to the soul. When I was able to laugh again after mom's passing, I felt more like myself again.
Because there are moments where you don't even know if you'll be able, can I laugh again?
Yes.
Will I be happy
Yes.
again? I think when anytime any of us go through a season of being in the valley.
Yes.
Right? Whether it's mourning a loss, if it's mourning a marriage, if it's mourning a loved one or a friendship, and whatever the case is, we question that.
Yeah.
Will I be happy again?
Yes.
Will I laugh?
Yep.
Will I be carefree?
Yep.
You know, will I feel joy again?
Yep. I love that because you touch on such a good topic about metaphorical loss and grief, because although my loss was very physical, there are things that happen in our lives that push us through the grief cycle that are more metaphorical, like you were saying, marriages and friendships and job transitions and all these things. And when we initially lose, we are doubting if any joy will be seen anytime soon. Yeah. And it's so beautiful that I can show that joy comes after mourning, in the morning.
In the morning.
Right?
In the morning.
I love that. I love that. We talked about, you know, Mama Africa, like the purpose of it behind it, right? But one thing that I mentioned even in your intro, and because this is like one of the things I love about you, and I think this is why we're friends, is because you are a multifaceted woman. Because I think it's safe to say all three of us are.
1000%.
And so talk to us about, because that's why we even created this. This is Mama and Her, right? And so the her part for Jessica is that, you know, yes, you're a wife and a mom and you love those roles, but you are so many more things.
Yes.
So talk to us about how you're leaning into being a multifaceted woman.
Okay. Oh, that's loaded. Okay. So I will say that one of my huge passions right now is like powerlifting, ironically. I just got into it after I gave birth to my first, and I love it. I love how I feel when I get stronger. I love showing my daughters that strength is beautiful and empowering and can make you feel, not even how you look, how it can make you feel like you can take on the world alone. I'm leaning into speaking and having these conversations and these difficult conversations with a comedic undertone, because I feel that people are more receptive when there is some joy and where they can laugh. And I am also leaning into pursuing a medical degree.
Yeah, you are.
I am. Yes.
Yeah.
Like Dr. Jess?
Yes, future Dr. Muamba. Yes.
I love that.
Yeah. Yes. I am in the process of hearing back from school. So relying on the grace of God and seeing where that goes and how that will, complement other areas of my life. One of the things my mom told me before she passed is two things. She told me I would have 3 girls, and before she passed, I also told her I wanted to go back to medical school, and she said, Jessica, have your children first. So I have these 3 girls, and I want to see, like, God, is this still your will? And if it is, make a way where there seems to be no way.
If I was waiting for a doctor and you walked in, I would fall over.
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh, hey, girl. I love that.
But so I wasn't as shocked as Shannon because I knew this, right? I knew that this
memo.
I've known this. I known that this has been a dream of yours, and I think the beautiful thing about it, as we come to an end of this quarter, is it's this, why not?
Yeah.
Why not be a
Exactly.
doctor? Why not be a powerlifter?
Yeah.
Why not be an amazing mom
Yeah.
and wife? Why not be a comedic, powerhouse? So I can envision me in the crowd, and when Dr. Mourning walks across the stage, I'm like, yes, I see it already for you, and I love that for you.
Yeah.
Jessica.
Thank you so much.
It's
Thank you
never
so
too
much.
late.
Yeah.
Oh.
To pursue a dream that God has put into your heart.
Okay, wait, we're going over, guys.
Oh,
we have to,
oh,
we're
yeah.
holding it.
Oh,
We're,
yes,
we're
yes.
holding us
Okay.
accountable. We're going to take a quick break. Stay with us as we wrap up the fourth quarter of
Yes.
Mama and Her.
Welcome back to the fourth and final quarter of this episode.
Yep. All right. So, Jess, as we conclude today's episode, one thing we want to do with our guests and our friends of the show is do our 6 rapid fire questions that Shan and I answered at the very beginning when we launched this podcast. But we want to know what these questions mean to you. So, are you ready for them?
I'm ready.
Off the top of the dome, probably like one word or just whatever comes to mind.
'Kay.
All right.
All right.
You want to kick it off, Shan?
All right.
Okay.
Here's your final 6.
All right.
Motherhood is
Beautiful and messy all at the same time.
Ain't that the truth? What is the best advice about motherhood you have ever been given?
Do what works for your household. Yeah. No matter what influencers or anybody else has to say. Yeah. Or experts, whatever. You're an expert of your own household.
Amen
Yeah.
to that.
Yeah.
preach. What is the worst advice you've gotten about motherhood?
Listening. Okay. Just general advice from projected trauma rather than like actually like individualized advice. So yeah.
Like overarching advice.
Yes,
That
overarching.
comes from a
Yes.
place of trauma.
Yes, that comes from a place. So generally, to wrap that up, unsolicited advice.
Nobody asked you.
Basically.
Okay.
Nobody asked you.
Oh gosh. Okay. Ooh. Okay. If I'm trying not to cry again. I wish my mom told me.
Oh. Mama Africa told me a lot.
She did.
I wish my mom told me that even when we pray and we don't get our desired result, God is still in control.
Yes, he
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
And that's a tough one to learn.
Tough one
Or
to learn.
not learn, but to accept.
Yes.
And to, it's his sovereignty.
Yes. And I think our moms didn't want to tell us that, even though they knew that. It's one of those where, it's one of the aspects of faith that they're like, kind of like, they'll get there when they get there.
there.
Yeah.
5. What would you tell your younger self?
Oh, I would tell my younger self, your uniqueness makes room for you.
That's
Don't
good.
try to fit in a mold. Yeah.
They were meant to be broken anyway.
They were meant to be broken. I just hate the years I spent trying to be something that I wasn't because I thought I was too quirky or I didn't quite fit like what the stereotype was. Like your uniqueness makes room for you.
Yes.
And last but not least, love is.
Oh. Compassion and humility. Yeah. And empathy.
Yes.
I think if you can give grace, be humble enough to grow and put yourself in the other's shoes in any relationship, it can be something that grows forever.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's good. That is, I think it's also, today's just a great reminder that beauty and pain can and often in life exist
Yes.
together.
Yes.
And, if you are one of the fortunate ones that have not experienced a valley, I don't wish it upon anyone.
Yeah, totally.
But at some point or another, you grow up
Yeah.
in a sense,
Yep.
right? And I think just the three of us now sitting here as women, strong, amazing women, but who have been through some things.
Yeah.
And the things might be different.
Yeah.
But yet here we are.
Yep.
Still standing.
Yes.
Still solid.
Yep.
And now leaning into our strengths, leaning
Yes.
into and not being ashamed of the scars
Yes.
that those things have left on us.
Yes.
But instead owning them.
Yes.
And that's what makes us, fearfully and wonderfully made.
Yes, and I'm even speaking on motherhood, like how stretch marks represent that you've carried a life.
Yes.
Yeah, our metaphorical stretch marks represented that we have gone through life, and are still undergoing life. But it's that whole concept of we want to sort of erase the fact that we've given life or carried life and given it.
That's so good.
Right?
Right? Because and we're so hard on ourselves. We compare our bodies, or we wish we want it to look as if it never happened.
If it never
But
happened.
it's like a badge of honor.
Yes.
It's a battle scar, but in the best way possible.
Best way possible. It represents what we did. Yeah, it represents what we did. Every time I see my diastasis recta, I'm like, that showed I carried
Exactly.
3
Right?
big healthy babies. Yeah, and I would never take that back.
Yeah.
Ever. Those children mean more to me than societal standards of
Right?
of what it should
Yeah.
be. Like,
Listen, you just made me appreciate my fupa.
yeah, honestly, honestly,
yes.
oh, yes, we gave birth, we did give
Yeah.
birth, mommy tummy, because I'm a mommy, those are my children that I
Exactly.
carried inside,
Yes.
Right?
for 9
Listen,
months.
this is my favorite new saying. I am not a snack.
Yeah.
I am a happy meal
Exactly.
that comes with a child and lots of toys. Okay?
and experience, yes.
Serious.
No, and I think it's so important that we share this because we just shift the perspective.
Yeah.
Because if we start celebrating us as we come, as we are, other people will too. And I think it's definitely a shift, and it's an awakening in
Yes.
society too.
Yes.
And it's beautiful.
Yes.
Obviously, we want to be healthy, we want to be
Of
strong,
course.
and we are.
Yeah.
But comparison and is a trap. And our bodies are so beautiful and strong, and I sometimes think in awe of what, my mom's mom had 12 children.
Yes.
And I'm like,
How?
Yeah. First of all, how?
Right.
How? But it's incredible. And I think these conversations are so needed. And I love that you brought that up. So thank you.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, Mama Jess, Mama Africa. I know, to all of you,
I know. I'm
Mama Africa.
Yeah,
but-
really, Kayla pawned that term way before even Mama Africa was created.
Because it would be phone calls and she'd just be like, oh, Mama Kayla, how you doing? And I'm like, not good.
Yeah, honestly, really helping each other out through the depths of just difficult situations and mourning different things. And I think that now we're coming, like you're saying, we wear the battle scars with pride. Because the enemy tried but couldn't take us out.
Come on now.
The scar means that I survived it.
Yes.
Right. And my skin, and this is the process of healing. That's what healing looks like. Even if in the body, the most perfect creation, that when you heal, it leaves a scar. It leaves a sign that there was healing to take place.
Yes.
But when it comes to emotionally, we want to hide it, and we want to push it down, and we don't want to be vulnerable, and we're scared to be transparent. But it shows that a scar shows that the healing had to take place.
And it happened.
Yeah. So yeah, I think even I'm stepping into.
Girl, you sure you're not trying to be a preacher? Or
You can add that to your list of multifaceted strengths. Why not at this point?
Right? Just start a church, as long as you guys would lead the women's ministry.
we're there.
Oh, Jess, you know what? Honestly, thank you so much. Thank you you are our first guest.
Oh, this is so exciting.
It's exciting. We will always remember it, no matter who comes
after.
You will always be our first to join us. And no, truly, we appreciate it because, like I said, we want this to be a space for not just us to share our bit of knowledge, but we want it to be for all moms. And I'm just so glad that you were able to kickstart this for us.
Love it.
And yeah, and you know what? And you have obviously your community. So tell, for those who are tuning in and watching, how can they keep in contact with you or tune in to all things Mama Africa?
Yes. Yes. Okay. Instagram, Mama Africa Jess. TikTok, Mama Africa Jess. I'm now on LinkedIn posting more speaking engagements. Yeah. Jessica Muamba. So, but I will be out and about and I will be speaking about experiences. So
I love that.
I'll always be there.
at
And
that.
thank you. Such an honor. Honestly, what you guys have is truly ordained and God is going to accelerate a lot of things. Yeah. Yeah.
I received that. Hey,
Yeah.
I
already
received
did.
that.
He's already doing it.
Been done.
Yeah.
Well, that I guess that about
Wow.
wraps it.
Yeah. I enjoyed this time, ladies. Thank you for a beautiful afternoon.
Yes, thank
And we look
you.
cute.
Right? Oh my gosh, got to dress up. Like,
I know. Now we can go back to our PJ.
Yeah.
We can say, wipe this makeup.
I even have the bonnet right there.
You got the bonnet. And honestly, thank you so much for tuning in, whether you're in your car, you're listening, in bed right now, or we're in your AirPods while you're chasing the kids around. We appreciate you so much. And we made Mama and Her for where motherhood, faith, and community meet. So make sure you follow us on all of our platforms. We're there at
Mom and Her podcast.
Mama and Her podcast. And yeah, Jess, thank you so much.
Love you. Thank you.
You guys too.
And we will see you all next time on the next episode of Mama and Her. Bye.